Tasman business environment. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The question is that the motion be agreed to. The Honourable David Parker.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I rise to take a call on the first reading of the Accounting Infrastructure Reform Bill. Can I thank the Minister for his explanation of the bill? The Labour Party accepts that this is, on its face, good legislation. It's housekeeping legislation which updates the regulatory framework which oversees audits outside of the financial market audits which are provided for in separate legislation. I agree that it's timely that this be done, in part because it also enables, through the same legislation, the ambitions of the New Zealand Institute of Chartered Accountants to merge with their Australian counterpart to form a trans-Tasman body. My understanding in respect of that, from the explanations that have been made to me, is that as a consequence of that, we're likely to see an increase in their back office functions in New Zealand that will increase employment opportunities in New Zealand. It is somewhat sad that again New Zealand's trading on its low wage comparison with Australia, but we'll take that particular advantage on this occasion. Mr. Speaker, I understand that there are sections within the accounting profession who think that this decision is not the right one, and they of course will have the right to make submissions to the Select Committee and try and convince the Select Committee as to why their viewpoint is correct. I think there are some within the profession who think that although the majority of accountants quite clearly want this change, they would like to be able to prevail despite the fact that they're the minority. They have the right to put their submission to the Select Committee, and the Select Committee will consider it properly. One of the issues that I'll be interested in at the Select Committee is whether, in respect of incorporated audit firms, whether there will be a requirement of a certain level of either capitalisation or professional indemnity insurance, because if we're going to allow the incorporation of partnerships, they of course then escape the personal liability that accrues from partnership structures through limited liability company structures to provide audits. And I think it's proper for the Select Committee to inquire whether, given that we're effectively letting the currently the auditors who have personal liability through their partnership structures to people who they owe duties as auditors, if they breach their duty, there is, and I'm not saying that often happens, but it does and can happen on occasions, if they negligently breach their duty, then the damages to which they could be liable for to the injured party would not be limited through a corporate veil. Whereas if we allow limited liability auditors, then they won't be able to have recourse to the personal pockets of the auditors. Now, I'm sure there are strong reasons for the proposal as put forward, but I'll be interested to see whether there are minimum capitalisation rules or insurance indemnity rules that apply to ensure that there would be a remedy for someone who's relying upon an audit which has been negligently conducted. I'm sure there's some complexity around that we can explore at the Select Committee. Mr. Speaker, in terms of the proposals in respect of the audits of charities, I agree that larger charities should have decent audits. They are responsible for large amounts of money, and they trade sometimes on their charitable purpose and present themselves to the public as being a worthy recipient of charitable donations. So in respect of large charities, I agree that audits are appropriate. I think we will want at Select Committee to check that the thresholds that we're applying to what is medium or large, because we don't want to unduly regulate small charities and push them into difficult circumstance through expensive compliance regimes. We know that a lot of small charities do a lot of good work. They often run on the smell of an oily rag, They don't have a lot of income, and there's actually not a lot there to audit. So I don't want to impose upon those smaller charities onerous audit rules that would be inappropriate given the size of the money that's in question, and therefore the amount of things that can go wrong. You can get disproportionate in regulatory response if you try to apply the same rules to organisations of all sizes. So it appears that the government recognises that, because they're introducing different rules for medium and large sized charities than apply to smaller charities. So we'll have a look at whether they've got that differentiation about right when we go to select committee, and we look forward to receiving submissions from interested parties who will be interested, the charities in particular, the smaller charities, as to whether they're being unduly caught up in this. Mr. Speaker, it is important that we have audits. It's one of these things that we so often take for granted in Western countries, that we can rely upon information that is presented in accounts that are relied upon by citizens when they go about their business with different legal entities. They can have some assurance that the company, for example, has a certain level of assets if there are an audited level set of accounts that certify that the accounts have been prepared in accordance with some accounting standards, and that according to the audit all looks in order. That then it aids commerce, because we have people being able to have confidence that the institution that they're dealing with is likely to be good for the contract that they might be entering into with them. Mr. Speaker, I don't want to overstate the importance of this legislation. It's not going to, I think, in any meaningful way change the way in which the New Zealand economy operates, but it's a bit like most areas of legislation. They do have to be tidied up periodically, and I thank the Minister for his efforts in that regard.
Call Jonathan Young.
Please stand in support of the first reading.